Hello everybody and welcome to the next episode from my Caribbean-themed island, Monteverde. In this episode we are gonna build the biggest residential expansion yet, as we are gonna be filling all of the space with some low-density residential and building a natural beach all along it. But before we get to place any houses, let's do a bit of planning, so that we know what we are working with. The road layout is going to be a very loose and irregular grid, as many of the roads will be curvy, conforming to the surroundings, mainly to the stream and the airport from the last episode. If you haven't seen that one, go check it out, it's definitely worth it. I'm also leaving a bit of free space around the roundabout, because I'll be putting 2 small industrial complexes there, to provide some new jobs, as I'm struggling with high unemployment. That causes a lot of people to move out and new people to move in, which puts a lot of strain on our only road connection to the outside world. So there is just unrealistic amount of traffic around the port, where that connection is. After planning out the road layout, I am selecting the houses I'm gonna use. I'll be using some North American as well as European waterfront houses, and of course the classic standard North American ones I use everywhere, and these 2 Chinese ones. But now that everything is planned out, let's start placing some buildings. And I'm gonna start with a school. For that, I'm using the static ploppable version of the small elementary school extension wing and making it functional with Starq's surface blocks. We have the school in place, so let's start placing all of the residential houses. I decided to build everything out of static ploppables, so that I don't have to remove all the sub-elements from them, which I absolutely hate, and also to avoid terrain conforming and access issues. To make them functional, I would add zoning cubes. And that turned out to be a huge rabbit hole I couldn't have imagined I'd fall into. So, I'll put on a time-lapse and tell you what all went wrong. I placed all of the cubes, and just out of curiosity, I created a district around the neighborhood just to see how many households there are. And it quite surprised me that only like half of the houses were filled, even though I still had full low density residential demand. So I sped up the simulation to see if the people just haven't moved in yet, and the number just started to gradually fall, until there were only like 25 households out of the full 360 that were available. So I did some testing with the cubes and found out that once people move out, new ones can't move in. So I reached out to Starq and he suggested that it might be a problem with signature buildings as a whole, and sure it was. So signatures are still broken, who would have thought? That sent me on a journey to figure out how to make zoning block that is not a signature building. And I don't understand the editor at all. I tried to duplicate Starq's assets and change them to spawnable buildings. It worked, until I closed the game and started it up again. Then it crashed due to the original mod being corrupted. So I needed to reinstall it, try something different, and the cycle repeats. Sometimes when testing, the asset just randomly disconnected from water and electricity, and I started importing electricity for like minus 600k a month, without even having outside connection. Just shame I didn't record it, it was kinda funny. Anyway, I ended up spending like 10 hours on it. In the end, I just created my own asset, used a different problem Starq as the block, and it was all really quick and simple. I don't understand why I didn't do it like that in the first place. And to add to all of that, my city started randomly flooding once in a while. I lost some progress to it, but it wasn't the main problem. The main problem was figuring out why does it happen. My suspicion is that the water behaves differently on a higher simulation speed, which I used while testing the cubes. To solve the flooding, I needed to raise the evaporation rate to the max by using the water features mod and line the seashore with water sources to maintain the water level there. But that, I think, was enough ramble about my inability to make assets and the weird behavior of water, so back to the build. I just finished plopping all the buildings so we can get to the detailing. This time I remembered to recolor the roofs before placing any decals. I'm also recoloring them to slightly less vibrant colors than in previous episodes and leaving more of them in the original grey, because I noticed that IRL there are not as many colored roofs as I thought. After recoloring the roofs, I'm moving onto the road surfaces. And while I'm at the street level, I'm also deleting the lamps. In this neighborhood there won't be many streets with lighting, and on the ones that will have it, I want to place it on my own. Next, I'm building the beach. First, I'm adding a bit of rock wall at the mouth of the stream, mainly to cover the line between the sand surface and the riverbed surface used in the stream. For the sand surface, I'm using Sally's Golden Sand. To properly blend it, I'm using all the range of blending surfaces and extending it quite a bit into the sea to a depth where the seam is no longer visible. Later, I'm going to extend the surface to the whole bay to have uniform seabed everywhere. To make the beach more interesting, I'm also adding some rocks throughout the whole length of it, and to tie everything together, I'm finishing the rock wall from the airport. Then I'm finishing it off with a couple of paths leading to the street to provide access to the beach. And I would have almost forgotten, seafoam decals. Moving back to the city. To make everything more functional, I'm adding a bunch of parking spaces wherever possible, so that people can park their cars near their homes and don't need to fight for spaces at the airport like they do now. But for now, enough of functionality, let's do some detailing, starting with the roads. Covering them with stain decals, adding the power line, manhole covers at each intersection, and some tire marks, especially in sharper curves or in places with heavier traffic. Next on the list are decals around and in between the houses. This time I'm using mainly real vision decals instead of the riverbed ones or stains, and I think it looks much better. The first half of the neighborhood is all decaled up, but before completing it with foliage, let's detail the school a tiny bit more with a couple of props. Basically, I'm just adding a small playground and couple benches, nothing special. After that, I can start with the foliage. First, I'm spamming bushes pretty much everywhere, but with the trees, I'm gonna be a bit more conscious. I'm not gonna place them as dense as I used to, because that's just not how it is, especially not in places where the jungle was cut down to build. I'm also gonna place big leafy trees only in the middles of the blocks, and on the edges only palms, because who wouldn't want a big palm in their driveway? The only place where the trees will be denser is gonna be the strip between the shore and the houses. That is there to protect the town and farmland from storms and salty winds. All of the trees in this half of the neighborhood are in place, so we can continue with putting stain decals on the roofs and also on the walls of the industrial buildings. Only at this point in the building process did I figure out the solution to the signature building problem and have finished my own version of the low density zoning block. That's why I'm placing them now. Finally, I have the majority of the properties full and people are moving in even after somebody moves out. Having that sorted out means I can finish the detailing in the second half of the neighborhood. I'm just gonna skip that one and only show you the result, since it's exactly the same process as in the first half. And that's pretty much all detailed up, just need to stain the other industrial complex and place a couple of street lights here and there. One thing I forgot to do earlier is to add some props to the industrial site, so I'm doing it right now. First, I'm adding some parking spaces, truck props and this container full of junk. I'm kind of proud of that one. Then it's just some random industrial props, crates, boxes, barrels, gas bottles. To make everything more interesting, I'm adding these two silos here. I have no idea what they would store and what types of factories would be here, but the silos just look good. Then I finished it off with tire marks and trash containers and moved on to the second side. There the process was basically the same. And to finish the episode off, let's do some final detailing at the beach. I'm adding some sunken dead bushes to the edges representing some sort of grass and also around the rocks as like a seaweed or something of that sort. Then I wanted to create some sort of a pier, which I ended up building from pallet. Using the line tool, I just dragged out a rectangle of pallet, recolored all of them to the same color, and using Move It, positioned them to their final place. And since the end was not touching the seabed, I added a second row of pallets there. Then I made a small campfire here and decorated the surroundings of the pier with some more rocks and sunken bushes. As the absolutely last thing in this episode, I built a second pier further down the beach. And with that done, I thank you for watching, hope you liked the build, and if you did, please consider liking and subscribing to not miss any of the future videos. But with that said, take care, enjoy the cinematics, bye bye.